Nigeria, good morning, Abuja. Welcome to Daybreak on Trust Television. It is a very beautiful Friday morning. It's still the season of Harmattan. It's the festive season. Today is 22nd of December. And of course, in just a few days, say 3 days, it should be Christmas. And I'm sure that everyone cannot wait to, enjoy the festive period with their families, even though some people are not able to make it down to, their villages because of how expensive transportation has been. But we've seen how the federal government have waived, away about 50% of transportation, having a bit of agreement rather with some of the transport company in Nigeria, which is, a very great deal for Nigerians to actually feel the impact of the government in their lives. So yes, I'm wishing everybody, a lovely weekend, because Friday is that day where everybody is just trying to just run down before they get to enjoy their weekend. Well, I am Sumaya Abubakar, and this morning we have interesting 2 hours packed program for you. So do make sure to stick around with us. Well, right now we'll start by taking a look at the headlines this morning. The first headline says, Senate confirms 11 Supreme Court justices. First Lady gives police, military retirees, others 950 million naira. Zamfara governor proposes 432 billion naira. And now the details. Now, barely 24 hours after the nomination notice, the Senate confirmed the appointment of 11 Supreme Court justices appointed by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to fill the vacancies on the Apex Court bench. The confirmation followed the consideration and adoption of a report by the Senate Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights and Legal Matters during Thursday's plenary. Tinubu had asked the Senate to confirm the nominees who were recommended by the National Judicial Council to fill the vacant positions following the death and resignations of some justices. The nominees confirmed Justice Haruna Tsammani, Northeast, who chaired the Presidential Election Petition Court, Justice Mori Adumain, South, Justice Jummai Sanke, South and North Central, Justice Chidebere Uwa, Southeast, and Justice Chioma Nwosu Iheme, Southeast. The chairman of the committee, Senator Tahir Mongono, APC Borno, while presenting his panel report, said the nominees possessed the requisite qualifications and experience to occupy the position and that there was no petition against them. With the confirmation of the 11 justices, the Supreme Court now has the complete statutory requirement of 21 justices on its bench. Senators who spoke before the confirmation had expressed concern over the delay in the appointment of justices for the Supreme Court bench. Away from that, no fewer than 250 police, military retirees and other senior citizens across the country will be supported with a 950 million naira by the wife of the president, Mrs. Remi Tinubu. According to her, each of the beneficiaries will receive 100,000 naira. Tinubu disclosed this at the maiden edition of the Renewed Hope Initiative Elderly Support Scheme on Thursday in Abuja. She noted that the scheme is to cushion the effect of the economic situation on senior citizens. Tinubu said this economic empowerment program is born out of a steadfast commitment to the well-being of our elderly citizens, and it marks a significant stride in our collective pursuit of a more inclusive and compassionate society. The total sum to be disbursed is 950 million naira as approved by the governing board of the Renewed Hope Initiative. She noted the 36 states of the Federation will be given 25 million naira each to give to the beneficiaries. Tinubu addressed each state of the Federation will receive the sum of 25 million naira. She encouraged senior residents to support and pray for the president. The Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, said the efforts of the First Lady toward the retirees will motivate those still in service. Represented by the Director of Veteran Affairs, Defense Headquarters, Major General Ladi Saliu, noted that history will be kind to the First Lady for her gestures to the military. Moving on, in Zamfara, the Zamfara State Governor, Dr. Dauda Lawal, has presented 432,523,000, I believe, and 730. So it's million appropriation bill for the 2024 fiscal year. He tagged in its rescue budget. Presenting the budget to the State House of Assembly tagged, the governor said about 113 billion, which represent 39.5% of the budget, stood at recurrent expenditure, while 305,389 billion naira, representing 64.1%, was voted for capital expenditure. Given the breakdown of the appropriation bill, the governor explained that education, security, health, and infrastructure had the highest allocation, with a view to rescuing the state from total collapse. He explained that the budget would focus on revamping of educational sector, adding that the government had inaugurated Security Trust Fund and recruited 4,300 community protection guards to support security agencies in the fight against banditry. According to the governor, all ongoing projects will be completed in 2024, while new road projects including Malamawa Bukuyum Zoma Gumi, Maradun Makera, and Kwatarkwashi Mada, among others, would be commenced. Earlier, the Speaker of the Assembly, Alhaji Nasir Ismail Moriki, commended the governor for his leadership that had brought development to the state. Moriki acknowledged the good working relationship between the executive and the legislature in the state, as he promised speedy passage of the budget. And right now, we'll head on to the packages that we have put together for you this morning. The Tinubu administration, in self-appraisal, says that the government is winning the war on insecurity, thereby improving the quality of life for Nigerians by ensuring safety and security across the country. The Minister of Information and National Orientation, Muhammad Idris, made the submissions at the end of the year's news conference in Abuja, while restating the commitment of the Tinubu administration to reposition Nigeria's economy by revitalizing the key sectors. Trust TV's Shafiu Suleiman reports.
Showcasing the success story of the government so far, the Minister of Information and National Orientation says the removal of fuel subsidy, forex unification and tax reforms are aimed at stimulating economic growth to enhance the living standards of the people.
The Central Bank of Nigeria also commenced efforts to clear the billions of dollars in inherited foreign exchange backlog in order to further boost investor confidence in our economy. Under the Renewed Hope agenda, the Central Bank of Nigeria is determined to focus on its core mandate of price stability and financial system stability for the benefit of all Nigerians.
Mohammed says to guarantee food security and revitalize agriculture, the administration is making substantial investment and engaging experts in addition to providing incentives to boost the sector.
As part of the plans to boost food security in the country, the Prime Minister of Agriculture and Food Security flagged off the cultivation of dry season staple crops in Hadejia in Jigawa State. This project falls under the National Agricultural Growth Scheme, Agro Pocket, through the support of $134 million loan facility from the African Development Bank to expand the capacity of our farmers to engage in the cultivation of key staples like rice, maize, cassava, and wheat across Nigeria.
While justifying the necessity of unpopular decisions taken by the government, the minister says the administration is mindful of the ripple effects and impact on vulnerable Nigerians, adding that measures are being put in place to cushion the effects on the livelihood of Nigerians. Meanwhile, economic indicators in the country such as hyperinflation, growing unemployment, increase in pump price of petrol and declining purchasing power continue to prevail as Nigerians await solutions. Shafiu Suleiman, Trust TV News, Abuja.
I mean, one of the things that, Nigerians are expecting is the federal government to actually make the country secure. So it's a good initiative, saying it. Well, I am joined, of course, by my co-anchor, who was late a bit. Good morning, Sage.
Good morning, Sumi. Well, sometimes you try to get to the office early and then the road is the road.
Things happen. Exactly.
Indeed. But then again, yes, it's one thing for Nigerians to rate the government high. It's another thing for the government to rate itself high. The question of whether they've done well, be it in terms of economic or security reforms, should be left to Nigerians to determine, because of course they've slashed the price of transportation for road transport and also the other issues of free train transportation. But then again, I read stories this morning before getting to the office of how they've been experiencing challenges with implementing those new price slashes.
There's always a problem with implementation.
Well, by and large, you can only wait and see. I know that I intend going to Kaduna, so I would be seeing whether it's going to be free transport or not. And then when we get here next week, when we get here next week, and I'll be telling you guys how it went, whether it was free or not, and whether, it worked out just as much as the government says it was going to work out. But then there you have it. Moving forward now, fruit sellers at Ketu Market, famed for fresh and quality fruits, have voiced concerns over the hike in transporting these fruits from other states into the market. Victoria Tokolo in this report visited the market and tells us the stories of how traders are grappling with the consequences of the surge in fares. Take a look.
Fruits and vegetables, rich in essential vitamins, play a crucial role in maintaining the body's health and preventing various diseases and infections. In Lagos State, Ketu Market, renowned for its commitment to quality produce, is currently grappling with challenges such as low patronage and the escalating cost of transportation, contributing to a notable increase in fruit prices. The price of avocado pear varies based on its size and type, with a dozen of small-sized ones selling for 5,000 naira. Additionally, the transportation cost of watermelon from the north to Lagos is a significant factor, standing at 16,000 naira to 20,000 naira. Fruit traders who spoke to Trust TV voiced their concerns about the prevailing prices of the fruits they offer and the impact of factors such as transportation costs on their businesses.
This one 6,000, 5,000, latest 4,500 per dozen.
Sell per one. Like now, the biggest size now, we sell it at the rate of 1,500. That is approximately 18,000. In our own hand, we calculate it, it's almost 16,000.
The banana depends on the sizes. The prices depend on the sizes. The smallest one you can get in my shop starts from 3,000. And then upward, 3,500, 4,000, 5,000, 6,000, 7,000.
Consumers who travel from distant locations spoke on why they opt to make the journey to acquire their fruits there.
Fruits in Ketu Market, I feel it's okay because outside it's different, it's not the same price. They say wholesale price here, you get it wholesale price, but when you get to outside, you won't get it the same price.
When you compare the prices to what we have outside is very, very expensive, but here they sell it wholesale and you are going to get a better price.
I come to Ketu Market to purchase my food because you get the best of the fruits at a cheaper rate. So when you get what you get, there is nothing you come to Ketu Fruit Market to get that you get. You get the quality things and at the avoidable prices, so you get it at the right time.
Fruit sellers are calling on the government to address the state of roads in rural communities where a significant number of routes are in a deplorable condition. Many roads in these local areas are severely compromised, hindering farmers from effectively transporting their produce to urban centres. The crux of their pleas revolves around the urgent need for improved infrastructure, as the current road conditions contribute substantially to the escalating costs of transportation.
Still on transportation matters, passengers and drivers in Jos, the Plateau State capital, say that the 50% discount for interstate road travels and the 100% discount for train trips offered to Nigerians traveling to celebrate Christmas is yet to be implemented in the state. The Minister of Solid Minerals, Dele Alaken, had disclosed this on Wednesday, explaining that the discount will run from December 21st to January 4th of next year. But passengers in Jos say that they have not seen any action by transport operators towards implementing the directive. Ado Musa completes the report.
While some passengers at the Plateau Rider Motor Park say they were not aware of the federal government's pronouncement regarding the discount, others say they were aware of the development. According to the passengers, the 50% discount has not been implemented as they pay their normal transport fare, adding that some reported paying higher than what they used to pay.
Only we pay the transport, how the fuel is high, according to the drivers are talking about. So we paid more than what we are expecting to pay by this time around. In those days, we are paying about 6,500 or 7,000, but today we pay about 8,500, and some paid even 9,000, and some even 10. So this is how we are suffering here in Nigeria.
I'm a passenger, and from what the federal government said yesterday, it hasn't been implemented. The slash of transport fare hasn't been implemented. We're still paying the same fare.
It stands now, it has not been implemented because so formerly 6,000 and we still paid 6,000. So it has not been implemented. And yes, the companies, some of them are not even aware because the news has not even gotten to them. Some of them are not aware. So I don't think there's any possibility for it to just happen like that.
Yes, I'm a driver, but if the federal government they are going to say that, they should reduce the fuel, because how much is the pump price now? Because we're still buying at the 6 something, 7 something. So how do we reduce the transport fare without reducing the fuel pump price? So that's the issue. So if people can complain about that, the federal government is to look into the fuel issue.
Robert Kwap is the terminal officer at the Plateau Express Motor Park. He speaks on why the directive has not yet been implemented.
I received that news with a great pleasure. We are equally happy about that. But one fact still remains. The corresponding implementive support from the federal government to the state government down to the transport organization has not come. And operating at half cost, putting into consideration the amount which we use in fueling the vehicle. Definitely, if it is implemented now as it is, we can never take our passengers to their destinations with what we have on ground.
On Thursday, some passengers started coming with half of their transport fares, believing that the 50% discount has been implemented, but had to revert to old fares when they realized the directive was yet to be implemented. Ado Musa, Trust TV News, Jos.
And that's it for the news packages this morning. We'll now be going on a quick break. When we return, we'll be serving you more on the discussion segment of Daybreak. Stay with us.
It is a big shame, as far as I'm concerned, that for 3 years, the Nigerian state has failed to give hope to the people of the Niger Delta.
The Nigerian government and the oil companies don't care about Nigerians. All they ever care about is the resources being extracted from the area. This is why life expectancy in the Niger Delta is at an abysmal 41 years, one of the lowest anywhere in the world.
Within 3 years to this time now, no more Awoye again. The roof is too born.
Before when they come for this Awoye, they come and surround. They say they will sell it up in.
You don't know where the fire they come from down. For instance, how down how the fire they come from. No. When they question, they no fit question.
So when you have consistent burning of hydrocarbon, like the one happening in the Ororo oil field, oil well, when you have that, it means that the people who are predominantly fisher folk and farmers can no longer carry out their trade.
The voices of those people needs to be heard.
Make the government help we. Now die we there for a year.
Hello viewers, welcome to another episode of Adam's Kitchen on Trust TV. Try grating it. I am going to show you how to prepare a Singaporean chicken rice. Like this. Back here and get my carrots ready. Put in some amount of oil on the skin. I will now go ahead and take off the chicken, spread it to a desired shape.
And welcome to Creative Lounge.
Welcome back, and thank you for staying with us on Daybreak. Right now, we'll head on to our discussion that we have for you this morning. Now, the federal government has approved the exemption of federal universities, polytechnics, college of educations, and other tertiary institutions of learning from the integrated payroll and personnel information system. Remunerations of staff members of these institutions will therefore no longer pass through the platform, it said. The Minister of Education, Professor Tahir Mamman, disclosed that the council directed that universities, polytechnics, and colleges of education should be taken out of the IPPIS service to allow more efficiency in the management of the universities and the tertiary institutions. This means that the university authorities and other tertiary institutions will now pay their personnel from their own end instead of relying on the IPPIS. Now we have in the studio Professor Yakubu Achefu. He is the Secretary General Committee of Vice Chancellors of Nigerian Universities. And also joining us via Zoom is Dr. Jibrin El Maudei. He is ASU Chapter Chairman. Thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Maudei.
Also, welcome to the program, Professor. So, this issue of the integrated personnel and payroll information system has been one that has caused sort of a ruckus between ASU, the federal government, universities, and lecturers. So perhaps before we proceed, maybe we could, for the sake of our viewers, start with the reason why there's this brute force rejection of the IPs among universities and lecturers.
Yeah, the rejection was based on two fundamental points. The first has to do with the way the law establishing the Nigerian federal universities and most state universities. And that law was very explicit on the authority, where the authority lies as far as aspect of staff compensation, staff recruitment, etc. were domiciled. The second and more critical element had to do with the nature and character of the operations of the universities themselves. With the way IPPIS was structured, it does not provide for the type of dynamic engagement system that are inherent in the university system. When we say dynamic engagement system, is such that university traditions are over 1,000 years old, and there are certain things that we do that are unique to the university system. For example, the course allocation and teaching methodology is unique. So you are a lecturer, you are hired on a tenure, on a contract basis to teach a number of courses. If along the line these courses are put in the situation whereby the person teaching those courses is not available readily, the university quickly engages other techniques of hiring adjunct staff, temporary staff, to teach that particular course per semester so that there is no backlog in the whole process. Now, the way IPPIS is structured, you cannot even do that at all. You know, you have to be a tenured staff of a university to be captured in the IPPIS payroll. And so issues like sabbatical staff, contract staff, adjunct staff, you know, did not have any particular role to play. And these categories of staff play a major role as far as this staffing structure of the university system is concerned. So this is where the brute opposition, as you call it, came from. It was something that we had presented over and over to even the previous administration, that universities are not allowed to operate, cannot be allowed to operate like this, you know, where a vice chancellor has to come to Abuja and get clearance from the office of the head of service before you can recruit even a cleaner or a driver, you know, or the lowest level staff whatsoever, without that approval. And then clearance from head of service to go to Accountant General office to be captured on IPPIS. You cannot recruit anybody for the federal university system.
So it tampers with the autonomy of these universities.
That's what I meant by the law. Establishing the university.
All right, let's talk to Dr. Maude, who is on the standby via Zoom. And now, Doctor, let's talk about how we've seen, you know, other countries, you know, try this IPPIS, and it worked for them. And one of the things that made the federal government to implement this system in Nigeria is because they wanted the services to make sure it brings out transparency, you know, in the civil service, you know, job. So why do you think it is not working in Nigeria?
Well, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. It's not working in Nigeria simply because the way and manner universities are structured, IPPIS is not structured to address these issues. Just as Prof mentioned, there are things that are unique to our Nigerian universities, which IPPIS is not willing to. And apart from that, I want Nigerians to know that even the IP itself, it is software developed by an American company brought into Nigeria. And I doubt much if there's any one university in America that is using the same IPPIS that we're using in Nigeria. A simple problem that you need to address with the university, you have to go to Abuja to address them. Up to now, there are deductions that are made from our salaries which are supposed to be paid. They call them third-party deductions. Up to now, we are still having challenges with IPPIS. Up to now, our check-up dues for universities which are supposed to give remit to national, and we use the remaining ones for our branches, we still have a problem in those remittances. IPPIS is not good for us. Apart from that, you know, we have to be paying money year in, year out to the company in America while the services provided is not good. It's not even good for us in the academia. It's not even good for any other person who's working elsewhere in Nigeria. We are using other softwares before. We were thinking that the government should enhance those one. And if we can bring in IPPS from America, we are going to be paying American government or American company money year in, year out. Why won't Nigerian government challenge Nigerian academia to bring out another software like the UTAS that were brought? Even if they are not going to use the UTAS, federal government should ask other people, not us in the academia, to bring another one so that Nigerians can use it. Other companies outside Nigeria can look at it. If it's good for them, then they cannot be paying Nigerians money so that government will make an investment. But the way we are using IPPS, if you go there, you have to go there virtual every month to address simple issues. For a vice chancellor to appoint any other person, vice chancellor needs to go to Abuja. It is not good for our universities. That's why we have a lot of problems. Year in, year out, anytime they conduct audit, they will tell you that they realize there are a lot of ghost workers that have been captured in IPPS. And one of the reasons why they brought IPPS is to address the issue of misappropriation of funds, ghost workers issues. Now with it, we are having more ghost workers, we have more challenges, we have more issues. The universities are not working effectively and efficiently as expected. Then what is the need for having IPPS? If those issues that we have before, the alleged problems are not being addressed, we're having more and more problems. Up to now, the system is not close to become perfect and efficient.
All right, Professor Yakubu. Now, university staffs and lecturers have been exempted from the IPs. The university lecturers came up with their own system, the UTAS, University Transparency Accountability System. But then again, it has not come on board. So what's the current situation? What are expected plans for the future?
Well, for now, we cannot readily say because the operational guidelines, the official guidelines on the next steps have not been released by the Federal Ministry of Education and the National Universities Commission, which is the regulatory agency. Just like the ASU chair said, there were other methodologies of paying salaries that were in place before IPPIS came on board. And when IPPIS could not meet the nitty-gritties of the university system, the unions went and developed their own software, which was found to take care of those lapses that were found in IPPIS. So whether that will be adopted as a unique payment platform for universities, we are yet to see. But from the body language of the Federal Ministry of Education and the Federal Executive Council, it's like we want to go back to status quo, whereby the councils of each universities will decide based on the budgetary allocations and budgetary provisions for them, how they are going to pay the staff that they recruit from the system.
Okay, Prof. Now, you see, Dr. Elmaude mentioned something, that this IPPIS system was designed by probably Americans from outside Nigeria. Now, isn't this sort of an insult, seeing that our ivory towers are supposed to be not just citadels of learning, but domiciliary for research and all sorts, of scientific breakthroughs? Isn't this sort of an indictment, or an insult, if I would say, on university lecturers, professors as yourself, who have spent time and committed years of resources and learning, into the university system, only for the federal government to chalk down into your throat the IP system, which doesn't even come from Nigeria in the first place?
We have a relationship based on a triple helix framework, whereby university, that is academia, government and industry, are supposed to interface to solve problems in Nigeria. And that relationship is supposed to be a symbiotic one. But unfortunately, in implementing that relationship, we find that third-party organizations, and with the case of IPPIS, the World Bank came into play to say, this was during Obasanjo's tenure as president, came in to say, look, the federal government of Nigeria doesn't have a comprehensive database of all its workers. and that they needed to put all the workers on that comprehensive database. This is where the foundation was set. That at that time, each ministry and MDA was doing things differently, and so there was a lot of rot in the system. So World Bank supported the office of the Federal Ministry of Finance through the Office of the Accountant General to set up this platform to put everybody who is earning salary based on federal government sources on that platform. So they started onboarding first the ministries and the other agencies. And at that point, the Nigerian companies were invited to bid to develop that platform. You know, and I know that a number of Nigerians bidded. Just like you have the TSA platform that is being run by a Nigerian technology firm. A number of Nigerians bidded, but the reason, the political decision to give the platform to a non-Nigerian company, I am not privy to. You know, but yes, I agree with you that we have the capacity, and we have done it before. For example, the Committee of Vice Chancellors worked with the directors of ICT of Nigerian universities to develop a plagiarism detection software that is unique to Nigerians called Eagle Scan. This was because the Turnitin program, that is an American program that is a global leader, does not take into consideration the unique idiosyncrasies of our own plagiarism environment. So we built our own, it is working, and Nigerian universities are using it. So there's the capacity to do so is not in doubt. It's just the political will to engage the actors that are in doubt. And I think part of what this current government is doing is to say, look, let us go back. That was why NIDA was set up. Let us go back and see how we can use our own local technologies to drive this process forward. All
right, let's hear from Dr. Maude. What would you say have been, you know, the reactions of, you know, the academias on the decision of the federal government, considering that we know that the IPPIS was not the only, you know, issues that the lecturers had. There is also the arrears of 7-month salaries that were deprived. So would you say that this initiative of the federal government to take this first step of, you know, taking away the IPPIS is something that you people welcome, and is there hope or anything on the table, you know, for the other issues that you have?
Well, we, as you know, as expected for Nigerians, in 20, the federal government were not of this IPPS. However, the last administration, simply because of the political will of addressing those issues, now brought the issue of IPPS. We have already passed that in 2016. We have provided evidences, and we should not be enrolled into IPPS, and it was accepted by the federal. We were thinking that was to be forced. So as far as we are not expected to do, and it's a plus for this one. However, since we have a professor now, Ministry of Education, we are hoping that address the remaining issues as soon as possible. The issues are the issue of revitalization of languages. During Dr. Gudan, he set a committee. The committee went around all Nigerians, and they gave him a budget of 1.3 as the minimum money needed to revitalize our universities. After that time, Nigerian universities, 200 billion. Money is 1.1 trillion. We're talking about 2016. Now we are now in about to enter 2024. The 1.1 trillion of 2016 cannot make any difference now. Cannot steal our universities now if it's being given to our universities. Nigerians This is part of the struggle we are making. Money is not coming to our union, to the universities. That's the issue of our academic. We have arrears 2016 to date. Nobody is talking. It's something that we have worked for. It has been computed. They have to pay us. Let's agree. The government say, okay, we have not worked for 8 months or thereabout. So because of no work, no pay, no work, no pay. However, government should know. Later, we are being paid 3 things: for teaching, research, and for community services. In months, truly, we have not taught classes, but we have done researches, done community services. We are supposed to be paid these 2 things out of the 3. But if the government agreed or decided not to pay us, however, what about our unacademic? We have, the last time they revisited our salary is 2000. In our agreement with federal government, it is expected that after our salary should be reviewed time with what is prevailing in the economy. However, since 2009, now that I'm talking, that review has not been concluded. No new salary structure for our Nigerian universities. Issue of brain drain is there. Nobody is willing to make extra sacrifice to do in the past to teach students. A professor earning 400,000. What can 400,000 naira do to a professor? Give him the stable mind needed, such bring new innovations, and teach students. These are the things we for current administration to please invite us. Let's move to the discussion. We only the outcome of collective bargaining. Federal government will bring their members and other unions will come together, sit down on the table, discuss issues scientifically, objectively, arrive at a that is going to be accepted by all. Our expectation from the current administration.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Elmodi. Prof, you listen to Dr. Elmodi. Now, so many issues, so little in terms of recommendation. Prof, what do you recommend to address all of these issues? Because you understand that while all of these issues fester, Nigerian students are the ones who would bear the most brunt, because they would have to be the ones who would have to graduate without being equipped with all of what they will need to face life squarely. So what would you recommend to address all of these issues?
At the level of the Committee of Vice Chancellors, we have told government that we really need to sit down and rethink the philosophy of university education in Nigeria in the context of where we are as far as our national development is concerned. That process has started with the review of the curriculum for Nigerian universities that was carried out by the National Universities Commission. That issue has also been touched by aspects of the governance reforms that were started in the way that appointments and promotions are made into the Nigerian university system that is vested in the governing councils of universities. But on matters of autonomy, financial autonomy, on matters of research and innovation, we still have some challenges. On matters of compensation, like he has mentioned, we still have challenges. You see a situation whereby the Vice Chancellor of a federal university in some cases earns 1/3 of the salary of a Vice Chancellor of some state universities. So we need to understand that the aspects of financial governance, we have not made the type of progress that we need to make consistent to what the role of universities as far as our national development is concerned. And yes, when you look at the stakeholder ecosystem, the parents and the students, the Nigerian environment itself, the communities in which the universities are located, the staff of the universities and the unions which they represent, and like I said, the industry that we're supposed to forge that type of strategic relationship. We need to go back and review the nature of character of these relationships across the board. And so the new minister well, it's no longer new, it's been there for a while now. So the Minister for Education, Professor Tahir Mamman, is a veteran in the education space and the former Vice Chancellor himself. So he understands these dynamics. And if you look at the roadmap, the educational roadmap which he led to develop, it identifies some of these issues that I've mentioned. So it is now how to implement that roadmap robustly. The sit down that he's talking about, that all the stakeholders will come and brainstorm on what would be best for the Nigerian population, especially in the context of this ecosystem that I mentioned, that we are looking forward to. And I think that from the body language of what is happening so far, we are going to see that happening in early January or February, so that we are all on the same page as far as what is best for the Nigerian system from our universities.
Professor, I have this question to ask you. Is there any fear, of this decision of the federal government to remove the IPPIS from your angle? Because we saw how the federal government removed the fuel subsidy, and then Nigerians were excited until they started feeling the brunt. So is there any fear that this could mean to total autonomy of the federal, the tertiary institutions, having to now find a way to pay themselves their salaries? Is there any fear?
Yeah, there's apprehension in some circles, I must confess. There's some apprehension in some circles that what does this really mean when we talk about financial autonomy? And we're like, the Nigerian University, National Universities Commission knows exactly how much it costs to train a medical doctor in the Nigerian universities for 1 year, and for 6 years that is required for him to graduate and practice, and has the statistical data for all the courses. The closest to that statistical data is what the private universities, some of the private universities are charging. That is the actual cost. Then, so that is one cost unit. Another cost unit has to do with the cost of living on campus for 210 days, which is the 30 weeks, 15 weeks per semester, 30 weeks in a session that is required by the student. His accommodation, his feeding, his toiletries, payment for data, and all those things. So when you aggregate all that together, you now understand how much it costs to acquire university education, from the perspective of payment of tuition fees and other supporting fees, and for surviving on campus. So when we understand these numbers, we'll now be able to say, okay, what would be the best model for funding it? So is government going to give a grant, a lump sum grant, to say, look, I need University of Jos to train 500 doctors for me for the next 4 years. University of Jos, give me a bill. How much is it going to cost you? And the University of Jos will give the federal government a bill. Federal government will write a check to University of Jos that this is what you need. And then for those 500 vacancies, Nigerians will bid. Bid in the sense of scholarship now. They apply for scholarship to enjoy. And then those who get that scholarship will now know that they are being trained by the federal government of Nigeria. Those who don't have the scholarship and whose parents are not able to pay, is what federal government is saying, you now go and get the benefit of education loan, of a loan from the education bank to pay. Then you have the alumni associations coming to support. You have donor agencies coming to support. You have the big foundations, the Abdul Samad Foundation for Africa, the Dangote Foundation, and all these ones also coming to support. Just like Shell, NNDC, NNPC have been doing. All of this will now complement to ensure that, And then what happens in other parts of the world is that between the universities and the alumni association and the unions, they also create an endowment fund, so that any student who gets admission into, say, Ahmed Bello University will not be denied admission on grounds that his parents cannot afford it. There will always be somebody in that endowment fund that can pay for that scholarship. So that is global best practice. That's what happens in other parts of the world. State governments, local governments, everybody is in the fray. But we have a situation whereby now in the federal universities, there is no tuition, but there are user charges. In addition to these user charges, there are also the living costs that students have to pay for themselves. When you aggregate all that together, it's an expensive cost, and somebody has to pay for it. And so if we sit down and think through the financial autonomy model that government is proposing, we can then say, okay, this is what will work best in the interest of the army of people who want to come into the universities and do not have the place or do not have the funding support to come into those universities. When we consider that the Nigeria is below the African average as far as the higher education participation rate is concerned, which is the rate of those who are qualified to come to enter the universities and the number of spaces and the opportunities that are available. Nigeria is only like about 9%. The African average is like about 13%. Global average is like about 23%. So you can see where we are. Way below. So these are the things that we're saying. From governance autonomy, we're now moving to financial autonomy, and we need to sit down to iron these things out so that the unions are represented, the parents are represented, the students who are also mature adults, mature people in their own right, should be on that conversation so that we can sit down and see what works best for the Nigerian university system.
Thank you very much, Prof. Dr. Elmaude, yes, you listened to Prof's submission. He painted such a vivid picture of how things are supposed to be, based on global best practices. However, the question, IPC is gone. We don't know whether it will be replaced by UTAS. But then again, do you foresee us tilting towards some of these best practices that Prof has so mentioned? And do you think that the federal government, with its body language so far, has taken the right steps in the direction of these best practices that Prof so mentioned?
Well, for us to succeed, to be like a truly that has a good university system, those things mentioned by Prof are supposed to do. However, the government seems not to have that right thinking that Prof mentioned. The economy is bad. Everything is not going as expected. People are not happy. Workers are not. Everything is very hard. Now, it is the responsibility of the government to begin to really be putting things in an orderly manner to be followed. Protocols and procedures get there. We cannot jump overnight and get to other universities around. We are expected to, in order, and begin to address on how things are going to be done. Now, we have not seen any sign building towards road or that path towards the promised land. For instance, we told Nigerians that government is planning to increase school fees. For now, paying is exactly what Prof. They are just paying services fees. No one has started paying tuition fee. Now, what we are saying, us to have financial autonomy in process, government should be putting things that will make university gradually. Then if government is doing that, time will come whereby government intervention may not be needed as they are now. But for now, we cannot be like universities in Ghana. We cannot be like universities in Nigeria or other parts of the world. We are saying government should, in the name of God, begin to put things in an order, inviting people, inviting unions, inviting people that have endowments, students and whatever, so that we can sit down to begin to put a model that is befitting the current situation. If we are that, then automatically we are going to get. However, government cannot say they want to totally remove their hands, allowing students to pay. In my honest model, Adama University here in Yola, last semester that we just ended, of people, a lot of students, more than 200, couldn't pay school fee. Couldn't pay. It took the intervention of the university administration to like for them for now that please exams. When you are resuming next semester, make sure you pay the school fees for second semester as well as you pay for first semester. If not because of that, a lot of people, a lot of our students wouldn't have second semester exams, and that would be the beginning of leaving the universities, and that could cause serious threat to Nigerian project, because already security issues, youths are no, youths do not have money, youths do not. So what you are saying, government should make sure whatever they do, whatever policy they want to do, look at the plight of Nigerian students. Look at it's biting hard. So increase student loan will not solve the problem. Student loan will not solve the problem, because even for you to assess those, the procedure put by the federal government is also very hard.
I know you've spoken so passionately about the student loan and the potential negative impact that it's going to have. Perhaps if the Nigerian universities had an endowment fund, like Professor had said, perhaps those 3,000 students would have been able to write their exams with their tuition fees paid. However, Dr. Jibrin El-Maude, the ASU chairman, Modibo Adama University chapter, thank you so much for your contributions on the program. Unfortunately, we cannot continue because we've run out of time. And also, Dr. Yakubu, Professor Yakubu Ochefu, thank you so much, sir, for the contributions. I really do hope that we have this conversation subsequently, maybe next year, like you said, hopefully to review some of the plans of the federal government and to see whether the meeting between the multi-sectoral stakeholders will really hold for us to review these processes. Thank you so much, Professor.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for
yes. Thank you.
And viewers, well, that's the most we can take for the discussion segment of Daybreak this morning. I do hope you enjoy the segment. However, Daybreak continues at the top of the hour. Stay with us.
Why did you develop this reputation as somebody who is difficult to work with?
I will tell the truth. No matter whose ox is God, I will say exactly how it is.
This is where I actually sympathize with commissioners of nowadays, where a commissioner sometimes is just a picture. You find somebody, even a cleaner and the governor's wife, can interfere with their abilities.
Even the ministers, there are very many who respected me, simply because I never complained about them. I never went to ask for a favor. Never.
So none of that has happened?
Nothing.
But if it hasn't happened, do you have hope that now another government coming in?
There's no hope.
So you've given up on politics?
I've given up. It's gone, it's gone.
Retrenchment from work is the most hated thing by unions. It's a loss of job, means that is loss of life, in fact, for civil servants at that time.
Nigeria's economy, Nigeria's security, Nigeria's intelligence, this is what the materials we were handling. And I thought government would be very interested.
The reasons why you adopted federalism is not because of finesse, not because you like it, it's because of its functional utility.
Good morning, Nigeria, and welcome back. Indeed, it's Daybreak on Trust TV. If you've missed the conversation from 8 a.m., well, do well to follow us across all of our social platforms and also join our live stream on YouTube to catch up on, of course, Daybreak and also more news, programs and documentaries. Right about now, we'll be taking the headlines again. Starting with this one, reps summon ex-aviation minister Sirika NCAA.
7 injured, 11 vehicles destroyed as Anambra Task Force clashes with tricyclists.
And this one, Yaba Psychiatric Hospital stranded by 100% surge in admissions.
And now the details. The House of Representatives has directed its Committee on Aviation to invite the immediate past Minister of Aviation, Hadi Sirika, to brief it on the status of the proposed national carrier, Nigerian Air, as of the time he left office. The former minister is expected to provide insight on a wide range of controversies surrounding the project. This followed the adoption of a motion moved by Takige Dixon at plenary on Thursday. Presenting the motion, he said the former minister in 2016 proposed an aviation roadmap with a national carrier as a signature project, and that he promised to deliver the project by the end of former President Muhammadu Buhari's administration. According to the lawmaker, the former minister approached Ethiopian Airlines a few days before the handover to provide an aircraft that would be made available to Nigerians as an aircraft belonging to Nigerian Air. He added that the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority issued an air transport license to Nigerian Air. The House adopted the motion and directed the committee to also invite the NCAA to brief it on the Nigerian Air project and its certification. The Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development, Festus Keyamo, had in September suspended the Nigerian Air project and the planned concessioning of some airports.
Also, the Anambra State Anti-Tout Squad has reportedly brutalized 7 commercial tricyclists and destroyed 11 vehicles in Awka, the state capital. It was learned that 3 of the brutalized victims were receiving treatment in the hospital. Daily Trust gathered that the Anti-Tout Squad had stormed Unizik Keke Park and brutalized 7 members of Anambra Keke Drivers Forum. One of the drivers at the Unizik Park by Okuno Obiokoye, Mr. Ernest Iwuno, who spoke to Daily Trust, said the task force men came in a commando style and started beating them up. According to him, the squad came and arrested some of his members, alleging that they were louts collecting money from drivers. He said that the park is a government-approved private park, charging a service fee to keke operators. Iwuno stated that some of the arrested members were released after paying between 3,000 and 13,000 naira. Reacting, the coordinator of Anambra State Anti-Tout Squad, Mr. Solomon Chukwuebuka, said they were on normal patrol when they ran into some touts extorting money from motorists and they ran into the park. According to him, when they ran into the park, the hoodlums followed them and started attacking, saying they were not louts.
Away from that, the Federal Neuropsychiatric Hospital Yaba has recorded a 100% increase in the number of psychiatric patients admitted to the hospital in 2023. The hospital's chief medical director, Dr. Olugbenga Owoye, made this known at Wednesday's annual scorecard presentation. According to him, the increase in admission cases can be attributed to the rise in cases of mental health conditions in the country due to the current economic challenges accompanied by other socio-economic factors. In 2023, the total number of all patient attendance increased by 3%. There was a 7% increase in new cases attended and compared to no increase in 2022. We also have a 100% increase in admission cases in which the drug abuse cases is 10% increase and discharge cases is reduced to 10%, Owoye said. Owoye identified inadequate manpower and funding as the 2 major challenges faced by the hospital within the year under review, that's 2023. According to him, the recent exit of health professionals in the country in search of proverbial green pasture has significantly affected the hospital's manpower. He emphasized the urgent need to put in place a system for replacing those that had left and reduce the bureaucratic bottlenecks with approval for replacement for those that had exited the system.
So, Sumi, let's talk about this because I'm worried. First of all, Yaba left has recorded a 100% surge in admissions, recorded 10% reduction in discharge. And then very recently,
so people are not getting better.
Exactly. I saw a 2020 report where they said 25% more Nigerians have insomnia and suffer lack of sleep. You know, this is worrying, but it's not surprising. It calls for worry, but it's not surprising. Nigerians know the reason why. A lot of us are facing multifaceted challenges. You know, the economy is not really in a position where Nigerians would say we are enjoying the dividends of good governance. The fuel subsidy challenges is there. Cost of doing business, ease of doing business, the business climate is there. And I do hope that in the coming months and years, Nigerians begin to feel the impact of governance and begin to feel a reduction in all of these pressures, because this is only the reason why man would lose sleep.
Indeed,
when there is cause to worry, sleep is often far away, isn't it?
It is far away. I mean, one thing that our parents will agree on is that the youth of nowadays are suffering more than, their own era. So there is so much expectations, there's so much pressure. The youth are expected, of course, to be the retirement plan of their parents. So youths are having so much on them, and it's leading them to depression. And then from depression, they start finding solace in using drugs, which is not helping, our manpower in Nigeria. So it's really a scary situation that needs to be tackled, like, quickly.
I really hope it is, because I'm really concerned. But then again, the Supreme Court has on Thursday reserved judgment in an appeal filed by the Kano State Governor, Abba Kabir Yusuf, against Court of Appeal verdict that nullified his election. Shafiu Suleiman was there and files this report.
The ongoing legal battle for the top job in Kano has entered its last lap as parties in the appeal before the justices of the Supreme Court argued for and against their submissions to prove their case. The appellant, Abba Kabir, wants the Supreme Court to set aside verdict of the appeal court, which affirmed his earlier sack by the State Election Petition Tribunal.
Well, there was only two arguments that were in the appeal. The issue of membership of our candidates, that is the engineer Abba Kabir Yusuf, which was a settled principle of law. This Supreme Court has settled it. The issue of membership is non-justiciable, is no-go area, is an issue that has to do with the party.
There are 9 appeals filed in this appeal. Of course, the Supreme Court collapsed all the appeals into one. That is the one filed by Abba Kabir Yusuf, the candidate, and that appeal was taken. All the other appeals will abide. Arguments were canvassed, briefs were adopted, and the judgment has been reserved by the Supreme Court.
The apex court will also deliver a verdict regarding the controversy around the discrepancies in the appeal court's certified true copy of the judgment. The Supreme Court has, in a similar circumstance, reserved judgment in the Bauchi State governorship election dispute between Senator Bala Mohammed of the PDP and his APC counterpart, Air Marshal Sadiq Abubakar. Shafiu Suleiman, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Well, we'll have to wait to see the reaction of Kano State people on that one. Now, moving on, respite came the way of President of Ilesa in Osun State on Wednesday when some notorious suspected cultists in the town were arrested. The suspects were apprehended by operatives of the Western Nigerian Security Network, codenamed Amotekun Corps. Hamid Oyegbade files in the report.
Ilesha is one of the major towns in Osun State with high-rate armed robbery, cultism and thuggery. Residents here say criminal activities by cultists in Ilesha put their lives in danger. However, respite came their way on Wednesday when operatives of the Osun State Command of Western Nigerian Security Network, popularly called Amotekun, arrested some of the cultists in Ilesha.
I was arrested yesterday around 6:30 p.m. at where I was selling smoke at Ilesha. And there's only smoke, my phone and charger that was with me.
Smoke cigarettes. Less on drug, cold turkey. Less on drug, cold turkey. Years ago. Smoking a smoke cigarette. I smoke weed recently, but not anymore. I fought with cigarette because I'm trying to recover.
I was arrested where I was selling India M. They caught me with the India M and brought me to Amotekun Command here in Osogbo. The public relations officer for Amotekun Corps in Osun State, Adeniyi Adeshola, said the suspect will be handed over to the police.
We got intel that these young men have been terrorizing Ilesha axis of Osun State through our area command in Ilesha, and anti-cultism and quick response squad had to move swiftly for necessary action. And in the process, they were arrested with, in possession of a gun, some illegal drugs, and so many other items, so many phones and the rest of them. As we speak, we are about to round up our investigation, and once that is done, we'll be transferring them to the Nigerian Police Anti-Cultism Squad because we suspect them to be cultists. If not, we don't know what they will do with guns.
Items recovered from the suspects include a locally made gun, India hemp, phones, among others. Amid Oyegbade, Trust TV News, Oshogbo.
No, that's it for the news packages now. We'll be going on a break, and when we return, we'll be serving you the front pages of National Daily. Stay with us.
Not necessarily tribal or regional.
Welcome back to Daybreak on Trust Television, and thank you for staying with us. And right now, we would take a look at the front pages of the national dailies. And as usual, we'll start with the Daily Trust newspaper this morning. Now, the main headline on the Daily Trust says, low turnout, lack of cash mar the federal government's 50% discount for travelers. Riders are saying 5 million commuters targeted for support. That's according to the information minister. 5 companies approved for logistics, and racketeering returns to Regasa train station. Now, all the stories you find on page 4 of the Daily Trust newspaper. Below the headmaster, it says, Port Harcourt refinery begins operation after Christmas. That's according to the minister. Nigeria would have to hold on to them on that one. 88% of Nigerians self-employed. That's according to the National Bureau of Statistics report. NNPP supporters result to prayers as Supreme Court reserves their judgment. Below there, we see a man accuses in-laws of spending lost and found hard currency. You find that on page 20. PDP calls for Oshomole's investigation over vote buying. You find that political story on page 12. Senate confirms 11 Supreme Court justices. Below the belt, we have CBN investigator uncovers 593 foreign accounts opened by Emefiele. That's a deep finding. Over 543 million euros in UK fixed deposits, more in USA and China. Additional infractions discovered in Nigeria. You'll find this interesting story on page 5, and we have an in-depth. Daily Trust did say, 1 year after Abuja community awaits overhead bridge at railway crossing. Now, these are some of the stories on the Daily Trust newspaper this morning.
Let's now move to leadership on Friday. The lead story there says, Obaze report may worsen Emefiele's woes. Alleges former CBN governor operated 593 foreign accounts without authorization. Manipulated exchange rate, says 17.4 trillion naira, ways and means unaccounted for. Interesting. 543,482,213 pounds kept in fixed deposits in UK. Tunde Sabiu, originator of Naira redesign. This is interesting as more details continue to crop up with regards to Godwin Emefiele's woes. Also atop the page, we see FCT blames water scarcity on climate change. Beside that, Supreme Court reserves judgment in Kanu appeal. Below the pictorial, we see Catholic bishops reject blessings for same-sex marriage. That's quite a controversial story. There you can catch that on page 6. And also, finally, Senate confirms 11 justices for the Apex Court. Now, of course, we know that following the confirmation of these justices, it increases the number of the justices of the Supreme Court from its initial 10 to its full complement of 21 justices.
All right, let's move on to the Guardian newspaper. The major story on the Guardian says, Nigeria, the making of a human rights abuse heaven. You'll find this big story on page 4 and 5. Supreme Court reserves judgment in Kano Guba case. Additional wins Obafemi Awolowo Leadership Prize. We have again, NBS pegs unemployment rate at 4.2% amid business closure. Reps summon Sirika over Nigerian air project. We have passengers stranded as 50% transportation rebate. The scheme stalls. Tinubu's wife launches 950 million naira support scheme for the elderly. Reps consider semester-based fees for tertiary institutions. I wonder if that would be a welcome development, for the Nigerian student. House summons minister and CBN over limited withdrawals from the banks and the ATMs. Now, these are some of the stories on the Guardian newspaper today.
Until the Daily Independent lead story there says, NNPC attains mechanical completion of Port Harcourt refinery, achieves flare startup of refinery's Area 5 plant. Dangote refinery gets second 1 million barrels of crude. Atop the page, we see federal government unveils transport companies participating in Tinubu's 50% rebate. Also, Rivers crisis, PDP blasts Lamido over utterances capable of dragging party down. Other stories there says, federal government plans to increase flying hours to Sunset Airport for Yuletide. Also, Supreme Court reserves judgment in Yusuf Gawuna tussle for Kanu Guba. Senate confirms 11 Supreme Court justices. NEC raises committees on economic affairs, crude oil theft, management. Angola leaves OPEC. You want to know why? Well, you can check page 29. I bet they said it's around something around OPEC not serving their interest or thereabout. But then read page 29 of the leadership to get more details. Tinubu arrives in Lagos for Christmas. That story is on page 29. Reps summon ex-aviation minister Sirika over Nigeria Air project. It's seeming as if the Nigeria Air project left the public space as quickly as the minister left office. But then again, Yuletide, Governor Nwifuru approves 100,000 naira each for workers. You can read more on that story on page 2, which I know a lot of civil servants are going to read up on. But there you have it. These are some of the stories on the front page of the Daily Independent newspaper.
Nigeria's monthly expenditure declines to 1.3 trillion naira as fiscal deficit hits 727 billion naira. This is the major story on the Nigerian News Direct, and you'll find this on page 3. Below that, we have a pictorial of the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of Economy, Mr. Wale Edun, hosted by the Governor of Ogun State, Prince Dapo Abiodun, and Ogun State Commissioner for Finance and Chief Economic Advisor, Mr. Dapo Okubadejo, at the Governor's office in Abeokuta. At the top of the, beside that, we have out-of-school children. We are engaging the state government to tackle bottlenecks hindering success of UBEC funds. That's according to the federal government. NNPC Limited achieves mechanical completion and flare start-up of Port Harcourt refinery. You find that on page 11. Airtel Africa hits 150 million customer marks. We have Yulitide. UBA Foundation donates food items to residents across 20 countries. Supreme Court gets 11 new justices following the Senate confirmation. Now, this is some of the stories on the Nigerian News Direct. And right now, we have joining us to review the front pages of the national dailies, Malam Nuruddin Abdullah, the editor of 21st Century Chronicle. Good morning, and thank you for joining us.
Morning, Malam Nuruddin.
Good morning. It's good to have you again.
I will say you're looking like a minister this morning.
At this point, we should expect the unexpected, right?
Indeed.
It's a Yulitide season.
Yes, indeed, it is.
So it's all about the festive.
Talking about Yulitide, I mean, the lead story on the Daily Trust, low turnout of cash might mar the season. On my way to work this morning, I stopped by a POS operator to get cash, and he was telling me of how he has so far amassed close to 1.6 million naira cash, just in case, because he knows that there's going to be a crazy demand for cash between today and Monday, which is Christmas Day. And by the way, viewers, if the bank closed today by 4 p.m., it means that you would have to rely on ATMs to get cash. So, which means you really need to get cash now, because if you don't get cash today, you will not get cash over the weekend. And Monday is Christmas. You're more likely to get cash by Wednesday next week.
I think they'll be closing by 2 p.m.
Yeah. 2 p.m. is the time. So this is the reason why he said he has amassed close to 1.6 million and he's expecting another 1 million. And from 4 p.m. today, he is going to increase the charge fee from 100 naira for 2,000 naira to 200 naira for 2,000 naira. So, are you worried?
To a certain extent, but this is expected. Particularly, people are traveling. And people normally travel from the urban centers to the rural areas, where cash is key in whatever they do. And coupled with the cashless policy, how much do you get in the banking hall? I think they say not more than, is it 20,000 or 10,000?
Yes, 20,000.
You understand?
Depends.
So, when you look at these things side by side, you understand the situation. They have increased already. Yesterday, I had calls to get cash. Hardly use cash. I have my cards wherever I go.
Indeed.
I think was it 10,000, then they remove, I saw was it 10,300. I say, wow.
It has
he said, yes,
already.
yeah, it should have the chart here in Abuja. So you can understand the situation. And people are buying all manner of things, food items, animals, and what have you. And they go to rural
settlements.
I remember yesterday somebody went, was it jail or something like that? They have to get money, cash here. Because the people understand all transactions must be cash backed, particularly with the fake
transfer alerts.
Usually transfer, some unscrupulous element are worse in the situation.
Yes, indeed.
They can easily send you a fake alert.
So
and by the time they are
really
out,
trust you anymore in the transaction. All right, let's talk about the federal government coming out to reduce about 50% discount. Working with some selected transport companies in order to ease off. Because I saw them printing out the details of where these transport companies are headed to and all that. But then there's still low turnout because even the 50% Nigerians cannot really afford it. So what is your take? And there is also that, complaints about the federal government have not actually implemented what they said.
I think two things. The decision was hurriedly taken. I believe a week or even 2 weeks before this announcement, which was, I think, Tuesday or the Wednesday, things should have been put in place. Okay, if you're going to Kaduna, which transport company will you go to? If you're in city center, you go to Jabi Garage or Mabushi here. They are not transport companies. They are not Chiscos. They are not Kaduna Transport Authority, or what if you. If they have done it much earlier, I think maybe, unfortunately, some of the decisions by the present administration seems to be impulsive. You understand? Just maybe playing to the gallery. This thing should have been properly thought out. It would have been, I don't know, maybe go to Mabushi. From here to Kaduna is about 6,000. If I'm not...
we used to go to Kaduna 1,500 now.
You used to. Emphasis on used to.
You understand? That was, I think the last time was, the fuel was hovering about 400 plus.
Indeed.
I don't know the price now. 6,000, did I know? From Kaduna to Kano is 6,000 naira. You understand? So, how do you go to Mabushi now? You tell them, okay, you are the federal government picking, you are paying 3K. I don't know what will happen. Or you go to Jabi.
Who pays the balance?
I don't know.
And so there's a bit of no clarity.
So that is one. And secondly, people travel now when it is absolutely necessary.
Indeed.
If you close home now, you used to go to climb hills and what have you. I can't remember the last time I saw him.
I think he was the author of this house saying, no.
You understand? From work home. You can only go out if it is absolutely necessary because of the foiling.
Nigerians have been forced to become introverts. Well,
more discipline, I would say.
But then again, let's talk about this one. It's trickled across the Daily Trust, Punch newspaper, and some other national dailies. It says Emefiele operated 593 illegal US, UK, and China accounts. It also mentioned some figures there. Sumi, if you could help me with that. I think around 500 and...
yes, 543 million euro in UK fixed deposits, and also more in USA and China.
What do you make of these new developments?
So that's most unfortunate, I think maybe just give the tip of the iceberg. Of course.
So more to come.
Definitely. What of the charges filed by the DSS?
Indeed.
Yeah, that was what I wanted to say. Could it be that, how come this, news didn't come out earlier when they were going back and forth in court?
Well, because
I believe this
is the outcome of an investigation by the CBN investigator that was employed by the presidency. So then again, we're expecting more information to come out. But then one particular name, which do I say I was surprised to see or not surprised to see, was Tunde Sabio. His name was mentioned. Is there any cause for worry bearing the relationship that he shares with the former president?
Don't forget, it was Buhari's administration, and Tunde was the personal assistant.
The principal private secretary.
Okay, PPS. So you know what that means. And with the death of the then Chief of Staff, Abakari, he automatically transmuted into the Chief of Staff. And you saw how powerful.
De facto Chief of Staff.
He decides who sees the president. You remember some ministers?
Indeed.
He decides which approval gets the president note, and so on. So he was so powerful. He was of a young age, but extremely powerful. And with what happened, it was not surprising when the likes of Emefiele, don't forget, Emefiele bought the nomination form of the APC presidential race, while he was sitting governor of the central bank, unprecedented in any African country, don't even go Europe, unprecedented.
And
he was the CBN governor, and he availed himself It took the intervention of some Nigerians to go to court and whatever. And you see how he was even bragging. I hope that will serve as a lesson. Emefiele now is in Kuje prison. He was granted bail, 2 sureties with at the tune of 300 million naira each, with property in Abuja. Almost 2 months, he couldn't get these 2 people. Less than 1 year after he was removed of the CBN governor.
So nobody could stand for him.
That's it. So lesson for all. You see, you remember when he was taken to court and the court stopped him. You remember that how he was bragging inside the villa. So you must have the ears, the nose, the mouth of the like of the Tundes of that time.
Who this report alleged is the author of the Naira redesign.
You saw what happened. That was one of the most ridiculous things that happened under the Buhari's regime. The then Minister of Finance, who's supposed to be member or even chair of the CBN board, was at the National Assembly and she was asked, Hajia, can you explain? She said, sorry, maybe you direct your question to the CBN. I know nothing about it. Hours later, there was a statement from the CBN, from the presidency, saying that yes, Mr. President has approved without recourse to his finance minister or the chief economic advisor.
Now, Malam Nuruddin, there seems to be a lot of, earlier we were talking about this with Sage, where sometimes people are not given their job description to do it properly. I mean, talking about earlier when Dele Alake came out to make the announcement on this transport, 50% transport, and we're like, is he even in the best position to make that kind of announcement? So what is going on in this administration where somebody does not really do their job? A lot of things about their job description, it's not, they don't even have any knowledge of that.
So maybe as a caveat, we are operating a presidential system. Your job description is determined by the president. You may have no role and you may be assigned greater roles than even those that have those roles. So what Shibalake did is not surprising. Tunde was just PPS. According to this report you have just mentioned, he initiated
the Naira redesign
that almost crashed the economy. Just PPS. That decision was taken without the knowledge of the finance minister. Talk less of the National Assembly, even though monies will be expended on it. Those monies must be appropriated by the National Assembly.
Approved.
Come on, PPS. So in a presidential system, whether at the state or federal level, Hajia, if you can have no role, you can be the friend of the governor or a friend of the president, and you can wield the stick.
That's really a sad situation. All right, speaking of holding people accountable, Sagel, I want to just touch on this one. We saw the reps summoning Hadi Sirika on the Nigerian... yes, that is one of the... That was one of the comments that I kept seeing Nigerians making, finally, it's something that we've always expected. But then, do you see this going in favor of a Nigeria economy and the people, and not of the usual people getting away with a lot of things, even after all evidence are displayed out?
The National Assembly has the constitutional role of oversight. In the last 7 months that they came on board, how many of such public hearings have they done? Maybe if you can count, maybe up to 10 or so. What is the outcome?
We saw the very flamboyant one about the IPPIS and also the job scam at the Federal Character Commission.
What happened now? Where are we?
We've not heard anything afterwards. I mean,
maybe it's the job for the editors.
We are saddled with a lot of responsibility to keep probing.
So they are busy?
Not really. Unfortunately, over time, the National Assembly members normally play to the gallery. When there's an issue, someone you want to be. If you don't Like now, I think they have issued an arrest warrant for one of an agency.
In usual
fashion.
fashion.
Come and see them. I hope this National Assembly will be more honorable to say, no, off the mic. I hope we will not have such ridiculous situations. So we hope the Sirika thing will, whoever chop must vomit. That's
even if it's the snake.
Do you blame the National Assembly alone, or more like blame it on the short attention span of Nigerians? I mean, in the last few years, we've seen topical issues that have rented the public space, only for 2 weeks later, unfortunately, they get taken over by, say, Big Brother Niger. I'm sorry I have to mention names, but that's the situation. You see big issues, controversial issues. I mean, at some point, the Naira scarcity was such a big issue, but then how many days did it take for it to trickle down the moment that we started having access to cash? And the question of holding people responsible for all of the damages and the crippling effect it had on not just Nigerians, but also Nigeria and its economy. We're just seeing Emefiele being held accountable. Of course, he couldn't have been the only one who orchestrated this. Indeed. So, do we blame our government alone? Or perhaps we as a people also have some portions in this blame game and blame sharing?
I will apportion very insignificant percentage of the blame to Nigerians.
Why?
Nigerians must survive.
True.
If you are stick to this, people have to take their minds to something soft so that they can live to see the next episode.
So it's a coping
of mechanism. The scandal. Yes.
Unfortunately.
And see again, if you are talking about maybe Naira scarcity or fuel scarcity or what have you, they will just, the journalists will just splash that single individual with no specific role has stolen this amount. Look at it. Just wait for the details of this report, and you'll see who and who is involved. They are the people we so much respect in our churches, in our mosques, and what have you. They are the people that get the traditional titles, and what have you. So that is the way the country is segmented now. And Nigeria, you can't kill yourself. All those reports by the National Assembly, do you ask why they are not being implemented? Yes, I understand they are advisory. The executive arm must do the implementation. Do they do the implementation? Do you ask them why they are not doing the implementation? So these are some of the situations you understand. They say this country is not balanced. It's true. We are talking about Emefiele now. By Monday, something bigger will come. We will forget about this and move.
But why should we forget? I mean, I would recall the Japa syndrome situation where it was all hyped on, and then someone pointed out that we are quick to run and desert our own and go for the better. Meanwhile, people over there also die, to push for that economy to be in the better state. For you people to want to go and latch onto that enjoyment. So how come Nigerians don't have that will to push on something and make sure they also get the better economy that they deserve?
I think there are two different issues here. They build institutions over there. We don't have institutions here. Isagi is here. The moment he leaves, all the reforms he did
goes with
him. We build stronger men, not stronger institutions. Look at the United States. The president says, okay, I want this. A magistrate in Maryland or Virginia will overrule him. When Trump listed about 7 countries and said he banned them from the United States, a magistrate said, no, Mr. President, you don't have rights. Can that happen here? So these are some of the... I don't blame Nigerians much. We have the National Assembly. Where were they when all these things happening? For 8 years, all these things was happening. They were beneficiaries to most of it. Their wives, look at that dollar stuff. They can't give dollar to airlines, and some, if Nigeria is importing something, machineries, consumables, or whatever from, you can't get dollar. But every month, there is a list of people that are sent to MFLA. Give them from $500 to $1 million. You ask why? How can he be propped by the National Assembly? There are certain things. He who comes to equity must come with clean hands.
Clean hands, indeed.
The onus lies on the president, the governor, or what have you. Let me just give one example. The sequestered forex regime we had during Buhari's time. When tinubu came, he said no. Do you know why? Because he was not ready to benefit from it. Or his family members. Maybe some of his family members will even be angry. Mr. President, why? You can get dollar at 420, you sell it at 100. You can get up to 50, 100, 200 million based on the people you know at the totem pole of power from your bedroom. But when tinubu came, one single, he said no. Let it be normal at the INE. He denied himself that something. When Buhari came, you know, he held on to the oil sector. We thought that something good will happen. But unfortunately, it was not. When you distance yourself from the mess, then you can checkmate whoever violates the law. But the head of the agency, there was nothing Buhari could do to MFLA because Buhari's men, Buhari's women were benefiting from all the mess that was taking place while the country was feeling the brunt. That was why Buhari, MFLA was declared wanted by the DSS, but he could not be arrested. You published that traditional rulers from the north, south, east, west were trooping to Abuja. Please, BT, if you arrest MFLA, the country will collapse. Okay. It was that bad. So it's an institutional thing. Okay, the poor man, what do you want the woman selling courses by the roadside to do? She's a widow. You remove subsidy in education. She has children, she has 3 kids in the university. Now she's paying between 150 to 400 based on the part of the country she belongs to.
And the course of study.
So these are some of the, it's really pathetic, you know. So we really need strong institutions, build institutions, and everybody will be subjected to it. But when you say, no, you with your mustache, do like this, you can't be there forever.
It's not me. You see, this is the issue. You talk to me like it's me. Now you made an analogy with my mustache and you said, yeah, but in any case, should Nigerians be celebrating now? Because the federal government had announced late Thursday that the Port Harcourt refinery has been mechanically completed. You know, you see these terminologies, right? So that was how during the Buhari administration we got information that Boko Haram had been technically defeated. You see, all these technical terms, Nigerians have come not to really trust it so much.
I think
but
it's
then
done
again,
as a loophole.
Exactly.
That way they can say
we saw videos where flaring started. They said it's been mechanically completed. Should we celebrate this?
Mechanically ready.
Or we should celebrate mechanically?
I think maybe, you know, the NNPC management had a timeline. Port Harcourt refinery is the NNPC's Christmas gift to Nigerians, particularly with the biting economic situation occasioned by fuel subsidy removal. So, what they don't want you to hold them responsible by issuing that statement, by getting their engineering. I don't think that statement was done by the public affairs or something. The engineering. Okay, there is flaring now. Have they started refining?
Well, they said, you see, that's the thing with statements, right? So they said perhaps refining and also transmission via pipelines will commence after Christmas. Now, we know Christmas is in a few days' time, but after Christmas could be either on the 26th of December or on the 26th of December next year.
Yes.
So it all depends in this case. So what are your expectations with regards to that? Do you think we're going to see it sooner than later?
I think, yeah. And you know what Nigerians should do? They should keep on mounting the pressure. You promise this, you have to deliver. Yes, now, like Buhari's time, we hope that it will not be like Buhari's time, that the Boratea uncle killed Sheikh almost 8 times.
Well, he's a cat, apparently, with 9 lives, so...
He was killed almost 8 times, you understand. And Boko Haram in general was technically defeated, was mechanically defeated, was maybe financially defeated. But we hope that, let Nigeria mount the pressure, particularly with fuel subsidy removals, you know, affecting almost every household in the country, big and low. So maybe when we do that, you know, we'll hold Melekari. His appointment has just been renewed, right? The board has just been inaugurated. So maybe okay. Thank you, Mr. Is it GCEO, right? It used to be GM.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yes, GCEO.
Thank you for mechanically delivering Port Harcourt refinery. But please, we want to see it refining PMS. They may say the next stage, maybe they say they have started maybe refining
gas,
paraffin, maybe the AI, what do they call it, the airline. Let them go and do PMS direct. She should be advised.
Let's not go to jet fuel first.
Exactly. Okay. Or bitumen or something like that. Let them start with PMS, which is what affects Nigerians. You understand? So when the pressure is there, like you say, maybe particularly the media, that should be on the front burner. We should not forget that. Maybe we should even put a timeline. When Chibok girls were abducted, almost all the newspapers, they will count.
Yes.
10 days in captivity, 20.
I think only Daily Trust still does that.
Exactly. You understand. So that, it will remain in the public consciousness. Even though the people responsible for the rescue, they may not like it. Okay. NPC is a very big advertiser to many newspapers. They don't want Melekari sometimes angry.
But then Melekari made mention that even after execution of the refineries, there should be no expectation that the fuel price would drop.
But then again, Dangote is coming on board. It was served its first 1 million. 7 of the second 1 million is on the way. I'm talking about crude products. The Port Harcourt refinery is saying that it might start by refining around 60,000 barrels per day. Expectations. Good news, maybe not. Then again, on another hand, the Senate confirmed 11 justices of the Supreme Court on Thursday. For the first time since the creation of the Supreme Court, it's going to have its full complement of 21 justices. Do you see this in any way impacting Nigeria's judicial landscape?
Definitely. It will expedite the justice delivery. They have been operating without 11 up there. But, don't be quick in saying that, because maybe after Christmas, another justice will retire.
Exactly. You see, these are the challenges. So
it was the Buhari's thing, you understand? NJC is there. It is their role. There is a vacancy, fill it. Let's move on. But the way, things that should not be done in some fraction of seconds will take days to be done.
It's really a sad
situation. It will take months and whatever. So I don't know even maybe if the Court of Appeal in particular is properly constituted. The number determines even at that. Remember what the CJN said? We are so much overloaded. And every case must go to the Supreme Court again.
Indeed. I think the Supreme Court has
an issue with the POS man that he made now. You will take the matter to the Supreme Court.
Well, I don't have an issue with the POS man right now, but then again, I think 1,000 or 1,700 cases are waiting trial.
Of course, I think we just have to take a stop on this one.
I'm not going to take you to court yet. but then this is the much we can take on the program. Aman Nuruddin Abdullah, editor at 21st Century Chronicle, thank you so much for the insights and for looking like a minister.
Indeed, thank you so much.
Hope to have you again next week, of course. And viewers, well, this is where we draw the curtain on the program. We do hope you've enjoyed it thus far, and if you've missed any segment of the program, do well to follow us across all our social platforms. Catch our live stream on YouTube to get more news, documentaries, programs, and also watch other episodes of our programs that you've missed, especially documentaries, because of course, as you know, we are award winners for our documentaries. So don't play with us. My name is Sagir Ibrahim. Thank you so much for watching. Have a lovely weekend.
And I am Smaya Abubakar. Thank you so much for staying with us. Please do stick around. At the top of the hour, Emmanuel Fashemi will bring you 360 Sports. Do have a lovely weekend.